What's up, everybody? I'm DJ Sixsmith. You're watching The Sit Down. Michele is here with us. Dynasty on the CW. It's been a good one for her. How are you, Michael?
Hi, how are you? I'm good. I'm very well.
Awesome. I'm great. And listen, Dynasty has been an awesome show all across the board. Why don't we talk about it here? What has been the best part of the experience?
So I've had a lot of very positive experiences, but I think most importantly, it's having the opportunity to bring Diahann Carroll's role to 2021 and, tap into this extraordinary idea that she brought to the creators of Dynasty back in the 80s. And, due to her fortitude and agency, who she was as a woman, I'm working today playing this role of Dominique Devereaux. That's probably the most important part for me anyway.
I mean, the historical context is super important here, and you just realize how difficult it is to make a show in general in Hollywood, let alone the challenges that were there in the 80s, and you clearly understand the whole scope. So when you think about Dominique, what's most fascinating to you as her character?
It's interesting because in tackling, even though Dynasty is set in this somewhat fictional world, because we do a lot of things that aren't necessarily happening every day in everyone's life. I believe portraying where women are today, and right now Dominique is has her own fashion company and she's a mother and really is representative of what so many women are doing today, which is holding down careers and also trying to manage their families. So that part I really like. I like that she's also a career woman. Aside from being a mother, she's also a career woman.
Yeah, and it's fitting with the times, right? I mean, it's just beautiful to have that range of a character. I mean, you've been doing this acting thing for a minute. Women on TV and movies were not always like this. So what does it mean to you to just be able to do that as an actor here?
Well, it's true, because I used to say that women were often the accessory to the male character and they couldn't stand on their own. I mean, they were an extension of the male characters, and Dynasty does a pretty good job of allowing women to stand on their own and be their own person. And yes, there are relationships with the men, and some characters are married, other people have relationships, but the women are pretty fierce on Dynasty. I think they've done a really good job of representing women in that way.
I think that's one of the big reasons why the show resonates with so many people. What do you think are some of the other reasons that people have enjoyed this so much?
Well, coming out of this pandemic, specific to this pandemic, and that we've all been somewhat traumatized over this last year, it's a nice bit of escapism. You can tune in and people are wearing the women are wearing beautiful clothes, the men are beautifully attired, everyone has an extraordinary amount of money, we're all living in beautiful homes, and there's that fantasy and that moment of escapism that one can have for an hour, and you can feel okay when the show is over. You've laughed, you've been a bit mesmerized at how crazy they're behaving at times, but at the end of the hour, you've been entertained and there's no stress. Do you know what I mean?
Absolutely.
There's no stress. Yeah. We've had enough stress in the last year.
Yeah, amen to all that. We need all the entertainment that we can get. And I think what's cool about your career is that you've entertained folks in all these different eras of TV and movies, right? I mean, from the days of ER when millions and millions of people were watching to the world of streaming. So when you think about your career, what have been some of the keys in sustaining your success and, keeping this thing going for as long as you have?
Well, I have said to people recently, I don't know if I would have been as amenable to take on this type of role 10 years ago or even 15 years ago. I was definitely the cop's doc lawyer chick, I always say. I had a badge or a stethoscope or some kind of briefcase or something, some kind of corporate woman. And it really wasn't about kind of the visceral visual of a woman. It was really about how accomplished is she? What is she doing in her career? And I think that helped me. I think that helped give some longevity to my career, because it really wasn't about how great the character looked in her clothes or how beautiful her hair was or how great her makeup was. And by focusing on roles that were more character driven, it gave my career more longevity. I mean, it's all about choices, right?
Yeah, no, I think that's a really important perspective. And sometimes you don't always have the choices, right? Sometimes you just have to take the films and the TV shows. I mean, when you wind it back and you think about New Jack City, that was a big one for you at the time and puts you on a different platform. So what stands out the most just about your memories of that, and also what it did for your career?
Right. So New Jack City was my first gig, and we were all basically struggling New York actors. And we shot in and around New York. We shot most of the film in Harlem, which was fantastic. And there was a camaraderie there because we were, Judd Nelson was the only Hollywood guy that, and Mario Van Peebles had done a few things, but, for the most part, we were unemployed performers, Wesley Snipes, Chris Rock, myself, Ice-T, that was his first acting gig. He obviously had been a very successful rapper. And so there was something that felt comfortable about that. It almost felt like repertory theater on film. And it became this big cult hit. And after that, I said to my representatives, this is all good, but I want to do television, right? So the movie was a big movie for Warner Brothers, but I wanted to go into television. I wanted what I considered to be my 9-to-5 job in entertainment. I wasn't focused on being a movie star. I wanted to work in television, and I've loved it ever since. But yeah, New Jack City gave me a great running start, a great lead in to my career, for sure.
Listen, it's worked out really well for you. And I think it's also, hearing you say that is really interesting, because the movies that you have done after that, right? Like The Sixth Man or Ali, or, How to Lose a Guy in 10 Days, those have been interesting roles for you, right? So what have you thought about when doing those projects, given what you just said, that TV is my focus, but if I'm going to jump into a movie, what am I looking for here?
Right. So all of those movies, Ali, most definitely, How to Lose a Guy in 10 Days, definitely, even Dark Blue, and which was interesting because I obviously, Kurt Russell, I co-starred with Kurt Russell in that movie, and then worked with his daughter, Kate Hudson, directly after that. So when I had the chance to meet, Goldie Hawn on the red carpet, I was like, okay, I've met, the fam now, you know what I'm saying? But yeah, those were jobs that I did on my hiatus from television. And, I didn't mind doing a movie, but I didn't want to do a movie unless my TV work had stopped for a moment. I really loved doing television, and the movies were great movies. I'd always wanted to work with Michael Mann, and that was a big draw for me in doing Ali, and obviously, Jeffrey Wright and Will Smith and Jamie Foxx and all these, John Voight, all these extraordinary actors. But they were jobs that I did on my downtime from television.
Yeah, it's funny how all that works out, and just having the perspective all these years later, and even just looking at television, right? Like we mentioned before with ER, just what that was like for you and where television is at today. I mean, what blows your mind the most just about the growth of television and the world of streaming and everything we're dealing with right now?
Well, it's everything. You mentioned ER. When I can remember very, very vividly on ER, when, at the time we were averaging 36 million viewers a week. And we had some rumbling on the set that there was this reality show that was going to be up against our show, and we're thinking, what a reality show against ER, right? This massive successful drama, and then it aired, and it was called Survivor, and it did really, really well. And it continued to do really, really well. And I remember when we went from 36 million to 34 million, and we're like, oh my God, we're down to 34 million. And then we get 32 million. And I think now, if you get 2 million on TV, it's a big deal. If you're in double digits, oh my God, you know, it's just otherworldly. So that's probably the biggest change that I've personally observed, is just the amount of viewers we used to have in television, you know, the amount of viewers. And now you have, you know, 800, 900 stations, and you have streaming, and people aren't just watching 2 or 3 networks. I mean, they may never even get to your network, that, you know, because they're busy watching something else, streaming on their telephone, you know?
It's wild. It really is. Well, Michael, things have worked out for you really nicely. Dynasty's been great for you. Really nice to talk to you. Thanks so much for your time. And we'll do it again, all right?
Thank you so much.